Lovely work. So we are here for another episode of Get Stronger. Today with the great Mr. Dreamchaser Tommy. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm good, Kieran. How you doing?
Outstanding, but improving. Now, again, thanks for coming on today. You know, see, we've been in touch for the last couple of years. You know, meeting you through the gym and like combat environment. But at the same time, you know, I've been watching your content online. I've been seeing the wins your fight has been getting,
Yeah.
and even you know, we had Colin on here a couple of weeks ago. He spoke so highly of you as well. But for those who don't know you, like, how did you get into like the combat sports and coaching?
The coaching side.
Or in terms of martial arts in particular, like MMA, like the first time you decided, you know what, this is what I do.
I mean, I grew up in a rough area,
Okay,
I guess. So I was always doing sports, football, athletics, and then I got into boxing. 15, I had a few altercations where I was outnumbered, and it was after those I thought, oh, I don't want that to happen again. So yeah, I just walked into my local MMA gym, which was headed by Nick Sipsak, who he was in the UFC at the time, but he was a very good influence on me. He was a very good coach, but yeah, he completely changed my perspective and direction. Just that one decision. Yeah.
I love that. And so you said you started your MMA journey in boxing.
Yeah.
Oh, your martial arts or combat journey in boxing. How did you? What was that moment where you like transitioned and decided I wanted to add extra tools to my toolbox?
Because the boxing was casual. It was just like twice a week, just so I could be effective, I guess. Not in certain situations, I guess. But it was just my friend said, "Oh, come and try MMA," and this was after I'd had these situations. I think I was doing Muay Thai at the time, but I didn't really like it too much. But yeah, my friend said, just come to this MMA gym. Yeah, and it was a local one. We went there and I loved it. Like from the first lesson, I loved it. It was so difficult. I was getting submitted. I was getting beat up. I loved it. Sounds crazy, but I loved that. I loved how beat up I was getting. Yeah.
And so was this like sort of because like you were pushing yourself and like you were wanting to test yourself? Because for a lot of the viewers, I get what you mean in terms of understanding to know that you can come back, you know, get better, or knowing that you can almost take that beat and walk away, and you know you can get through it. But like, what were the parts for you? Like, what kind of like really enjoyed about it?
I think for me it was more the environment, if I'm honest, because I think when you're in certain circles you can get a false perception of what an adult is and what a man is, especially if you're younger. You can be around people at 18, 21, and you look at those guys as the older guys. But for me, I was going in there and there were guys, you have a guy with a professional job, like just a guy who looks a bit nerdy with glasses, but they're beasts. And I was like, oh, this is what it is to be a man. You know, like you've got your shit together, but you're effective. You can fight. And yeah, I liked how difficult it was, and I set goals. There were people if I can tap him in 6 months' time, then I want him, and then him. I was very hungry like that, you know. And then
So I like that. So it sounds like in the club there was a pecking order. Colin spoke a bit about that last time in terms of it's within like martial arts. There's very much like there's respect across the board. Everyone's kind of respectful, but also everybody kind of knows where they sit on that ladder.
I mean, I came in, I think I was 17 or 18. There was professional fighters there. MMA at the time, so there's semi-pro fighters and amateur fighters. And yeah, I really admired them, you know. They were really cool to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so was this at New Wave Academy?
Yes, a New Wave Academy.
Okay, amazing. So you started your journey in MMA there as well?
Yeah, I did. I started there, then I went off to another gym for a few years and then came back. Yeah.
Okay, what made that sort of you decide to spread your wings and then sort of return to the to home?
I think I needed. There was a fight team called Revolution Martial Arts. They were really good. It was a small team. You had the number 1 amateur in the country at the time and number 2, which was Kingsley Crawford and Jawani Scott. And if you look up Jawani Scott, he's in Cage Warriors now. He's fighting for the belt. And even Kingsley Crawford was amazing. There was Daniel Crawford, and I just wanted to be around those guys and get those guys to push my level. And again, training with them, I loved it. It was a different level. Everyone was around the same size as well. So yeah, again, it was just another challenge. It was just something more difficult, but a way for me to improve.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then what brought you back to New Wave to say, hey, do you know what?
If I'm honest, I was more back at New Wave. I never completely stopped there. I was always doing 1 or 2 sessions a week there. But yeah, it was just injuries. I was just getting lots of injuries, and I had to take time off. And then that's when I started coaching a lot more.
Okay, so if before we get into like the coaching side, it sounds you were training, you were developing yourself. Did you like compete in MMA and also or any of the other like disciplines?
Yeah. So I had 9 amateur fights in MMA.
Yeah.
And I was at the point where I was thinking about turning pro, and I wanted maybe just 1 more or 2 more. And then injuries. ACL tear, broken nose, and it just, I just never got back into the flow of it.
So with that, so your first competitive like sports fight, as you said, you grew up in Ferris. The first time let's say you had a fight probably wasn't necessarily in the ring, unfortunately. But the first like sports like bout, was it MMA or did you do like boxing?
No, it was MMA. MMA was my first ever.
First ever.
Fight, and it was a lot.
Okay,
it was insane.
Yeah, because that's normally like you hear more of people who, like they kind of build their discipline. Maybe had a couple of boxing bouts.
No,
or
I went
kickboxing
straight
or
in, and we had
then
4 rounds. We had 4 ounce gloves
Oh,
with the pro gloves as well.
That's it. Yeah. And was it what class? Because I know is it like with MMA there's like the different rules.
No, it was just straight in.
So like no shin pads, just straight.
I had shins and 4 ounce gloves, and then but it was full MMA,
MMA, absolutely. Like elbows, knees.
Not elbows.
So that's kind of what I meant. That's what I meant by the classes.
No, so you had knees,
knees
to the body, and I believe I might have had knees to the head.
Okay.
Well, because it's before there was unified amateur rules. So you could fight one set of rules on one show and another on another, and then I think after I'd had about 3 or 4, there became unified amateur rules, which is unified amateur is 3 frees, you got knees to the body, no shins. You wear 7 to 8 ounce gloves, the domed gloves,
And so, obviously, you mentioned like having those injuries. I think on your Instagram you also speak about it as well. Like, tell us like the process in terms of how you try to like maybe push through, because as I know, like I believe that no fighter ever walks in 100%.
No, it always at least I always say to my fighters, if you're 80%, you're good. We can go. If you're 80%, you're good.
And so, like, what were like maybe some of the recurring injuries that you were facing, and then
for
when
me,
you decided, hey, do you know what?
Yeah, for me it was knees. Like my knees are still bad now. I was. You can ask anyone who trained with me. I was very injury prone, so it's always like knees. Knees.
And what made you decide to say, hey, do you know what? I want to pass this wisdom on to others and get into the coaching space?
It was, if I'm honest, I think I've always been a natural leader, but I've never liked the responsibility of leadership. So it started off at New Wave covering classes, but then people just liked the classes a lot. And then one time I'm covering the fighters class, and for me, I had all the like imposter syndrome. I can't coach these guys. These guys had more fights than me. But then they loved it, and they were saying how good it was. And then it just grew from there, really. Yeah.
No, I love that. And so it's like you're a natural leader, maybe someone, it's almost like that superhero story where you hear, it's like when they say, hey, it's your time, or Simba when he's going through Lion King, it's like, it's your time to be king. It's like, I'm not sure, I'm not ready yet.
It was definitely like that. And I think initially I didn't really take the bull by the horns. So I was turning up to classes, coaching classes, but then it wasn't like I wasn't running people's game plans. I was just coaching a class. I wasn't taking command over like how it is now. I'll run people's game plans. I'll set their training schedule for them. I'll go through the strategy of the fight. I'm there cornering them before I wasn't really doing that. Like, I'll be checking in on people, I'll be messaging them, because as a head coach, I can't coach everything. So sometimes it's like, make sure you go here and train this with X person, and then call them after. Did you go there? Oh no, I didn't. Why didn't you go there? Or I did. Okay, tell me about it. And then I might ask that coach for feedback. So yeah.
Okay, love that. And so, as a coach, I think MMA coach, you're one of my favorite online,
Thank
one
you.
of the favorite in person in general. But as in like, I see more of the coaching. I haven't been to any of the sessions, I can't talk personally of those. But what I see online in terms of like the instructions you give, the breakdown, as well as when you like share some of your cornering. Obviously, no one starts there, I believe. As you kind of spoken about the growth of that.
Yeah.
When you're with your coaching, is it something which is like solely just for fighters, or do you also coach anyone or those who are maybe open and want to learn self-defense and
I mean,
MMA?
I coach everyone, man. I mean, I coach kids. I coach I've coached from 5-year-olds up. I coach beginners. I coach intermediate. I coach a lot of my guys I've had from beginners. I took them to the interclub level, which is where they're getting experience, into amateur, and now some are professional.
So we've got beginners, interclub, amateurs, and professionals.
Yeah, I've taken all the way. I've taken people all the way up through those ranks. It's cool.
So I love that.
To see.
So this actually brings us into something which I feel that will let your light shine, and it's definitely because with I see you come across quite analytical in terms of how you break things down and share things. So if one was to say, let's say for each of those points on that journey, how would you say one's focus can shift? So what I mean is, let's say if someone's a beginner, what would you say like 2 or 3 things that they need to focus on to improve? And then let's say when they get to interclub, what's their focus? Amateur, what's their and then obviously professional.
So as a beginner, you just need to show up. 100 like, and it sounds simple. It sounds like oversimplified, but it is just a case of showing up for sure. And and just trusting the process. Like when you start, you're gonna get beaten up. You're probably not gonna get a lot of attention initially as well, but keep showing up, and eventually you will get that attention. You know, especially if you have a good attitude. The interclub level is more. So I'll start to see once guys are doing well and they've been getting more tips, little pointers. I'll invite them to the sparring with the fighters, and then they'll get more tips and they'll grow more. And then from there, okay, interclub level. For me, I have my guys do multiple competitions at interclub, 6 to 8, competitions in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so they do the individual disciplines as well.
Okay.
And then I may actually make them do K1 fights, kickboxing fights.
Okay.
Because I want them to have that experience of walking out with their name, the music, the crowd, the nerves, the feeling of the changing room. I want them to have that at least half a dozen times before they fight amateur MMA. I believe the amateur scene in the UK is really high standard. And you think in London, like you've got gyms like London Shoot Fighters, you've got GB Top Team, who are both doing amazing things. But then you've got even the smaller gyms like Fight City were producing good fighters, Fight Zone are producing good fighters, Apex are producing good fighters, ESKF, SCK. There's so many gyms in London who are producing like good fighters. So sometimes you're watching these amateurs and they look like pros. They look professional, they look polished. So for me, in terms of getting to that amateur level, it's a lot. You've got to go through the gauntlet. And I've had guys come from other gyms who have fought, and I've said, yeah, you're not ready. And I've put them with a guy who's I don't think's ready for amateur from my gym, and they get beat up by them. So yeah.
So when you're at the amateur, so as you said at the beginning part, just show up and trust the process.
Yes,
because you might not get the views, you may not get the attention you want, but you got to earn your stripes, so to speak, and show that you're committed. Second stage interclub, it's like starting to gain experience in the different disciplines, i.e. like a jiu-jitsu competition maybe, or a K1, so kind of building those different parts in the game.
Well, they'll do the grappling comps and interclubs first, because interclub is limited power. There's technically no winner, even though people who do them say, "Oh yeah, I beat that guy."
Kind of like no one wins in sparring.
Yeah, but you know
like,
you won, right? Like, you know you lost. You know, yeah. So it's like that. And but the thing with that, it enables me to see what works best for them when I'm cornering them, and their weak points as well. And sometimes even, especially with interclubs, you can get a lot of guys on. I can pick up if there's the same hole that's come up with 6 guys. That's a hole in the gym. So I'm like, okay, I need to fill that.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm always looking at ways to better suit my practice. Like there was a guy, we had a couple guys who lost because they were against the cage. And so then I introduced cage wrestling class. Because it's like, okay, we're clearly not doing enough of this. So yeah, I'm always looking to improve my practice as well. Yeah.
Amazing. And so when someone's at that amateur stage now, what would you say is the advice to give them? What do they need to, like 2 or 3 things that they should be focusing on? Or even 1 or 2, doesn't
So the amateurs now, I think a lot of amateurs are treating it like professional. If I'm honest, I think it's a bit too much, but I think a lot of guys now, they have a nutritionist, they have an S&C coach. You've got to be watching film study. You've got to treat it like a pro, if I'm honest, because it is a high level.
So almost the amateur and pro, they're almost given the same advice. It's just how long you've been at it for, whether you are the amateur or pro. So whether you're, let's say, if you're in the amateur space, you should be looking around your nutrition. You should be looking at your S&C. You should be studying fight film.
Definitely.
But once you're a professional, you've just been doing it for longer, so you're therefore better at doing each of those areas.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, no, I really like that. And when it comes more to the training side, so obviously, like we spoke, I can see a lot of the insight around like what it takes in each of those areas. But when it comes to the training, what would you say are maybe like 3 to 5 exercises that you would sort of recommend anyone can do perhaps at home or in the gym on their own to kind of get stronger for mixed martial arts?
Okay, like actual strength exercise. I'm always a big fan of plyometrics.
Okay, yeah.
So things like burpees, box jumps. I think building that explosions really key. I actually think there's sprints as well. I get a lot of my guys on the air bike, but you can't really do that at home, right?
Hey, everyone's got different budgets, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, anyone can find a hill and sprint up it and walk down, you know. So I think hill sprints are good. Yeah, definitely hill sprints, burpees, plyometrics, but then less fitness orientated, more skill orientated, shadow boxing. And I do think a lot of people treat shadow boxing like a casual warm-up exercise, but it's a really good exercise to make sure your mechanics are good, your balance is good. I mean, you can do a jab and hold a cross out and see if you're balanced. Are you too far to the left? Are you too far right? Are you too far back? Getting your footwork correct. Are your feet crossing? So I think shadow boxing is highly effective, but shadow boxing with a focus. You can shadow box and just focus on your jab or focus on that cross to the body. Like you should shadow box with visualization, you know? Yeah.
Do you know, and this is the perfect segment onto the next part of our conversation, because again, this book you may recognize, I gave you a copy
yes.
you know, a few years ago when it came out. What's your thought? Have you had a chance to sort of look through?
I looked at the first, bro. I'm so bad with reading. The amount of books I pick up, like I'll read a chapter, put it down, read a chapter, put it down. I looked at the first couple, put it, and then just didn't get back to it.
From the few pages that you did look at, what were your thoughts? What did you take, or what did you feel from what you saw?
I don't know, but I can't remember. I'm sorry, because I read it ages ago, and I remember I read chapters 1 and 2, and then I put it down for okay, I'm gonna read that, and I just didn't get back to it.
To be fair, that was probably about 2 and a bit years ago.
Maybe 3 years. I think longer, man.
Yeah, about 3 years probably.
Maybe 4, bro. How long has this book been out?
It must be 4th year in.
You
December.
gave me this when it first came out.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. So that came out beginning 2023.
Yeah, and I always meant to pick it back up. Like it's on my shelf of the books that I read.
Well, I'm so grateful for that. Well, the reason why I mentioned it's a great segment is because when you spoke about the shadow boxing, I've got something called the 4 keys of self-mastery, which I believe, you know, applies to boxing, but applies to combat sports as a whole. Everything from like, you know, affirmations, mastering your words, goal setting, having a clear goals of like what you're aiming for, specifics. Then into visualization, seeing it in your mind's eye before it becomes a reality.
I always get my guys to visualize. I think visualization is such a powerful, it's such a powerful tool. And even when I'm warming the guys up before fights, I always tell them, visualize that first 30 seconds of the fight. Really see it. And I think visualization, you need to see everything. I don't think it's just the things you do well. I think you need to see yourself getting hurt and coming back from that. You need to train your mind to deal with those situations. I think there was a study done with basketball players, I think. And they had guys who visualized. There were guys who just practiced. There were guys who just visualized, and there were guys who didn't practice, didn't visualize. And the guys who visualized did better than the people who didn't practice by quite a bit. Yeah.
And absolutely. So, for someone, let's say perhaps you've got one of your fighters who come from another club, they're not maybe as used to those practices.
Yeah.
Like how do you kind of, what's your coaching style to kind of get people on board? Is it because, for instance, just to give an example, you've got some coaches. From a football example, because when I had went to a talk with John Terry, he spoke about Mourinho. His thing was more, look, it's my way or the highway. I'm not here to negotiate. This is kind of how we run things. Versus like other coaches, I think it was Benitez or one of the coaches that came later, had more of a democratic approach to things in terms of more of an open discussion. What's like, let's kind of go back and forth. Like, what's your typical style? And if somebody maybe, you come with an idea, you can sense a bit of resistance. Like, how do you kind of
for me, like everyone's different. Like some people are gonna like fight. Football's such a team sport. Whereas fighting, as much as you have your team with you, and I need guys on a team element in terms of showing up. So we've got bodies on the mat and understanding our systems, because I'm a big fan of language in terms of call outs. So I'm not calling something out and you don't know what I mean. So like in jiu-jitsu, everything has all the moves have names, but in striking that might not. People might say feint, but it's like, what feint? How do you want me to feint? So we have loads of different names for all the different feints and stuff. So in terms of a team element, it's that. But fighting, really, it's just that person in there. And so I try to, I don't think one hat fits all. You know, I've got some guys I coach who've got ADHD, and they learn very differently. There was a girl I used to coach called Kate Bassick, who, again, she was an amazing fighter, but she really challenged me to be a better coach, actually. And I initially struggled coaching her, because the way I taught didn't necessarily work for her, but she still deserved to learn and to fight, and she was someone working hard. So I had to adapt my coaching style to suit her. And so yeah, I think everyone's different.
So it's okay. So whilst everyone's different, you find it's important, almost an opportunity to like use that as an opportunity to grow and learn as a coach.
Yeah,
to
definitely
almost help them, rather than it being like, this is how we do it. You either get on board or keep stepping. You got more look at each individual and be like, okay, they don't necessarily get it this way. How can I reframe it in a way that they can?
Yeah, like I didn't have a long career. Like 9 amateur fights isn't, like, it's enough fights to know what you're doing, but it's not a long storied career of like 20 pro fights and stuff. And I think because of that, I have a big imposter syndrome, and it's a double-edged sword, because if it cripples you, then you're just gonna freeze, and I'm not good enough, I can't do this. But at the same time, if you're challenging that voice, like, okay, I need to work harder to silence that voice, then I will. And I think that is why I go above and beyond.
I'm really glad you brought up that imposter syndrome, especially because I'd say 100% I've suffered or had that similar impact effect for myself, especially when writing this book. Now I'm writing a book called The 12 Boxing Principles of Success. Between boxing and kickboxing, I've only had 10 bouts. So it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, you're talking of about a subject which, people have had hundreds, some people even thousands of bouts, and then you're there with like under a dozen. But even though what what you say is true, but there's almost that bit of, because of the lack of experience, you can potentially be challenged by people who've got more.
100%, and it has happened.
How did you? Because to kind of like what I did to help me with that journey was like connect with those who did have more experience. And one I found like references. So for instance, like Angelo Dundee, a great world-class trainer to like the likes of Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard. who didn't really have any amateur experience himself, and even Drew Bundini, who was also Muhammad Ali's coach, who had worked with Sugar Ray Robinson. Again, no about experience, but worked with absolute legends. And then for me, also connecting and learning and interviewing some of the great minds like yourself, like other coaches, and them sort of confirming what I already sort of believed and understood, helped me to kind of build confidence to say what I'm saying, because it's like, right, you may not agree with what I'm saying, but I've kind of cross-referenced and checked this with Floyd Mayweather's Clarissa Shields' former trainer, and they signed off, and they're the best on the planet. So it's no longer about going up against me. I've got him in my corner. Like, how do you kind of overcome your imposter syndrome and make sure to kind of help to build the confidence to know what you're saying?
I mean, look, we're always testing. We're always testing the things in the gym. You know, if I'm coaching something from a position, we're testing it in sparring. It's always tested, and then it's tested in the fights. I mean, I at this point I've had, I think, 9 amateur champions under my belt, 1 professional champion. I never fought for a professional title. I fought for an amateur title. I never fought for a professional title. And I remember at the time thinking, man, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough for this. And the guy who fought against a very good guy, and he was the underdog. And the whole thing was strategy. I said to him, probably going to lose the first round. And we just drilled back defense. I said, the guy, they're going to take your back. And we just did back defense over and over and over and over and over again. He got his back taken in round 1. Didn't get submitted because we just drilled it so long. And I remember saying to him, trust your cross, you'll land the cross. And it worked. It worked. The plan worked to a T. And I think after then, I gained a lot of confidence. And I saw how important the strategy was. I think coaching and fighting are very different skills as well, and both different mindsets. Like, fighters need to be very selfish, coaches need to be very generous. Yeah.
No, I love that. Is in, you know, test it,
Yeah.
and then trust it.
Yeah.
Trust yourself, like have trust.
And if something's not working, we adjust it. And I've got coaches I can speak to. Like, there's Matt Inman was a coach of mine for a while, and he took me from my jiu-jitsu purple belt to brown belt. And Matt Inman is, if you look at Matt Inman, he's a very long career, very great mind, very experienced. He's someone I'll cross-reference things with. And my old coaches, I'll sometimes message them, but not as much now as I used to. Yeah.
100%, because you've obviously gained extensive experience.
Yeah.
How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
35.
35. Okay,
Yeah.
so literally I'm turning 35 next week, so I'm almost
Enjoy
there.
it. Enjoy it.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is, so what we've got as well, in this book I talk about 12 key principles. I may have shared them with you before. So these 12 principles, for those who are listening, it's faith, vision, teamwork, focus, hard work, dedication, discipline, the will to win, resilience, confidence, respect, humility, and legacy. Now, I believe that all of these apply to combat sports as well as for life. But perhaps, like, which sort of principles sort of stand out to you and have helped you on your coaching journey and your just life?
Yeah, definitely. With coaching, 100% vision. And with that, I had, because when I had fighters leave, and then I had a lot of new guys, and I had a 3-year plan, and I had the vision. I always saw it. I always saw I can build these guys up, and I have. And now they're fighting. They're fighting amateur, and they're doing well. Yeah, hard work and dedication, discipline. I think they go hand in hand. Yeah, humility is a big one for me. I'm not someone who's super boastful. Yeah, and I always prefer my fighters to be like that rather than very arrogant. Like, keep your feet on the floor, keep your feet on the ground, and don't forget the things that got you there.
100%. Well, again, like, we're coming towards the end now. So what I'd like to know is, like, obviously I've been following, we've been connected.
Yeah.
But funny story about how do you remember how we met?
No, remind me.
Okay, so what happened is, I think I must have been training in the studio with, so this was like way before.
Was I skipping and shadow boxing?
You were skipping and shadow, and I see the way I'm like, this ain't no regular type of footwork move. These eyebrow fireys, isn't it? Like, this ain't just play, because when you see in the gym a lot of casuals just But I see you were moving with like purpose, as you said, and what you mentioned earlier on today around like shadow boxing with purpose. It's like, I could see that. I could see the skipping, the intention, the change of tempo, the footwork. And then after, I'm like, for me, being the type of person I'm like, okay, this is someone I need to connect with, and he's like, one, just kind of just give you your props to say,
Yeah,
hey
yeah.
man, like, I see you working hard, man, keep that up, because, to encourage each other, but then also just to learn more, and then when you then shared about you being in actual MMA
Yeah,
coach
yeah.
and everything, I was like, okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but like, obviously, I've seen, your growth over the last few
Mm-hmm.
years, your the growth on your social media.
Yeah.
Like, what now we're in 2026? Like, what's next? How do you see kind of the next couple of years?
I think so I've got my professional fighters, and I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna do coaching long term, if I'm honest.
Okay.
But with my pros, I want to get them to a point where they're at least making 5K a fight. With the amateurs, I want to get them to a point where they're close to professional level, or they're at a stage where no matter what gym in the world they wanted to walk into, they'd be able to, they'd be accepted and have attention because they're good. And in terms of with New Wave, I want to leave. If I do leave, obviously I'm in two minds about it. Yeah, I'd want to leave the culture that I've built. I want that to stay. The fighters culture, the hard work, and that system of you earn your stripes. You go, you do the interclubs, you do the grappling comps, you do your kickboxing fights, and then you fight amateur. And I wanna those things that I've instilled. I want them to stay. I want them to stick. For me, bro, coaching's not about. It's not about me. It's about the people I coach. It's like some coaches get pissed off when their fighters leave. I don't, because it's not my journey. It's theirs. And the fact that I got to be a part of their journey, I've always feel honoured. I always feel very, very honoured. And I don't matter in the coaching thing. It's not. I don't matter. I'm not the one. I'm not the one at risk. I'm not the one who could get knocked out or get their get their knee torn from a heel hook or their arm broken. It's not me doing that. It's about them, and I want the best for the fighters. New Wave Academy has given me loads and loads of opportunities, and I want the best for the gym. Yeah.
So it sounds like it sounds almost like obviously you're laying the foundation to essentially almost one day just kind of like step
man.
away and
Yeah,
what would that
100%.
next chapter potentially be?
Something I think for me, family's really important, and the way I coach, the way I do things. Like if I had children now, I would never see them. I wouldn't have time to see them. I wouldn't have time to be a good husband or a good father. Obviously, I'm single at the moment, but it's something that I want one day. And when I do that, that's something I'd want to be dedicated to. So I'd focus on a career, a six-figure career. I'll be honest. Yeah.
So a six-figure career which you can do, but which enables, because coaching has got those opportunities for the big coaches. But as you said, it sounds more like the sacrifice of the family and what pouring into the family that you want to build.
Bro, I haven't had a day off now. I think in 40 days or 50 days, and then sometimes it's like 60 days. People are like, oh, you always work so hard, you always this, and that's why when I go away, I'll go away for a while. Like I'll go to Thailand for 2 months, or I went Bali in Japan before, because it takes a lot, out of you. So if you do it properly, it does. If you got these guys who fight, like they deserve your time, they deserve your energy. They deserve nothing less than 100%. Even if you're not feeling 100%, you should give them 100% for sure.
I love that. And so final message today, just because of, a lot of the followers, not even just followers, but people out there, we all face battles in life. See, your fighters, it's in the cage and on the mats, but in life, it's life never stops hitting back. No one leaves life undefeated.
For sure.
So, for those who are going through their growth or facing battles in life, what perhaps words would you share to kind of inspire, motivate, and empower them to kind of get through onto the other side?
Man, I think that's hard, because I think I've had very traumatic experiences, if I'm honest. So my sister died 3 years ago.
Sorry to hear that.
And I think, it's still a problem, still something I deal with. But I think the thing that has helped me push was having a purpose outside of myself. And I'm quite a spiritual person, so one purpose is God. But then another purpose, it's the fighters. It's something outside of myself. Something that got me out of bed was I need to show up for this guy, even if I'm feeling at minus 1,000 right now. And you know, eventually you put on that brave face that it goes into your heart, you know, and yeah, that's I think a purpose outside yourself definitely is something that helps you move forward for sure.
Love that. Well, again, Tommy, it's been a pleasure today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kieran. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, man, keep shining bright. Make sure you follow this guy, Dreamchaser Tommy on Instagram,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Absolutely. And again, if you ever get a chance to train at New Wave Academy, which ones you?
I'm at all three, bro.
There we go.
I told you I don't get a day off.
There we go.
I'm at every gym, every day.
South London, Bromley, Croydon, Penge, New Wave Academy.
Yeah.
Tommy, hit him up. The place
Cool.
to see.
Thank you, Kieran.
Thank you very much.